we're at the part of the year where there's all kinds of little things going on. So again, I'm going to do this like a news of the day type thing, but none of these warrant their own video. For instance, Ryan Spooner's being bought out by the Vancouver Canucks. I think they were fine with keeping Spooner. I think what happened is that $3 million recapture, by buying out Spooner, they saved $2 million on the cap next year. So I think that's what caused this. I think they were fine with giving Spooner a chance to make the roster, and see how things work out. And instead, the cap recapture comes in, so they did this. I really think that's why this happened when it did. And Benning wants Tyler Myers, so everybody's like, "Oh, thank God! Oh, Luongo saved us from going all in on Myers." No, rumor has it Myers is going to make over $6 million a year, and Benning wants Tyler Myers. And I have to say, they need help on the blue line, so I can't disagree too much. And I know Myers is going to get overpaid. This is what happens on July 1st every year. But Vancouver, there's pressure to make the playoffs. I did the futility video earlier in part to show there are some teams that have tremendous pressure to make the playoffs right now. They talk about how Toronto front loads their contracts. They did it again with Kapanen and Johnsson now that the details have come out. So Johnsson and Kapanen get $8 million on July 1st between the two of them. Dinner's on them. Kapanen a $3.7 million bonus on July 1st, $1 million in 2020, $1 million in 2020, $1.54 million in 2021. So it's $6.24 million in bonuses and $3.3 million in actual salary. Johnsson gets a $4.3 million bonus on July 1st. Happy Canada Day. 2020 he gets a $1 million bonus. 2021 it's a $1.75 million bonus, and 2022 it's also a $1.75 million bonus. So the contract is $8.8 million in bonuses, I'll get there, and $4.8 million in salary. So this is where other GMs of smaller market teams might get upset. To go to your owner and say, hey, we have to pay out a lot of money in bonuses. And if you look at it, Toronto on July 1st pays a lot of money in bonuses. Small market teams can't afford to do that. They really can't. So they're working within the cap. But man, these bonuses kill the smaller market teams who might want to make offers. And it makes it harder for them too, because there's going to be restricted and unrestricted free agents who say, hey, so you're offering me X amount of dollars. Can you make that a bonus? Because they're offering me a cash bonus on July 1st for that. And when the GM and the owner both say, no, we can't afford to do that, then that's where they end up with the big market teams. So, and it means that they're buyout proof. It means that if either Johnsson or Kapanen fall off for Toronto, they really don't buy them out, because the bonuses do not come off the books if you do a buyout. Bonuses are absolutely not taken off of the cap hit, so it really doesn't help you to buy them out. If they're both or one or the other doesn't work out, you have to trade them. And then trading them gets it's different. And when asked about these bonuses and the fact that other GMs can't afford to do this, his response was, deal with it. If you don't like it, deal with it. We don't care. This is why we have a hard cap. If we did not have a hard cap, the Toronto Maple Leafs would have salaries of in excess of $100 million. I have no doubt in my mind that you'd see Toronto, Detroit, the Rangers, potentially Montreal, maybe Chicago, could be Boston too. We'd see an never-ending escalation of salaries. So this is just another example, because if you didn't have a salary cap system, then Dubas would just be giving these guys more money over a longer term, and it'd be crazy. But anyways, there was a small deal today, where depth forward goes to Florida, depth defenseman goes to Colorado. The interesting part to me is that Jacob McDonald goes to Colorado. Gave him his own video last summer, and so I'm interested to see how he does in Colorado, a team that seems to be stockpiling defensemen. They draft one, they pick one up from Arizona in the trade for Soderberg, and now they pick up McDonald. And Florida picking up a forward when they seem to be really good at depth with forwards. So this is likely an American Hockey League move. But you never know with Sakic, right? Dave Hakstol has been announced as the assistant coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when I saw this, I chuckled, Now, I didn't chuckle. Wait, Leaf fans, just wait. I did not chuckle because I think it's a bad hire. I chuckled because I know how many people are going to troll this hire. I know that this is one of those hires that's going to cause people to make some comments that likely will be, on some level, humorous. So he joins the team as an assistant coach. And then I also got kind of a chuckle out of not Hutchinson re-signing, but Marincin re-signing. Because when Marincin was leaving as a UFA, there were a lot of Leaf fans who were like, I am so glad Marincin's out of here. Marincin's useless. And they re-signed him for another year. So it's just an American Hockey League signing in both cases. Hutchinson's not going to be their backup. Marincin's not going to end up on the roster unless there's extensive injuries, I would think, on the blue line. But while there are some who might be like, well, can we get Gardner back? Can we get something going on with Marner? They're making all these other deals so that they have their structure and their salaries completely figured out for next year. It's honestly, and all kidding aside, it's a smart move for Dubas. He is getting all of his ducks in a row. He's going to know how much everybody's getting paid, and all that's left out there is Marner. So if Gardner ends up leaving, that hurts their blue line a bit, but Marner's really all that he has left to deal with. And if he can get Marner dealt with early in July, Toronto really doesn't have any concerns other than I do worry about that blue line. Terry Pagula says it's time to start winning. So the pressure on Jason Botterill starts now. But that being said, with the season they just had and with the fact that they were in a playoff spot in November and they looked pretty darn good and then it fell apart, the pressure's there now anyways. And of course, the discussion of the fact that he added Montour last year or this past season at the deadline, and just added Colin Miller. He's picking up players from teams that are, in cap trouble. The Islanders did that not too long ago. I say not too long ago, but it really was quite a few years ago at this point, when they picked up Nick Leddy and Johnny Boychuk, where it was cap dumps by Chicago and Boston. These teams were up against the cap, and the Islanders said, all right, well, we'll take them. And it turned out to be brilliant in both cases. Buffalo appears to be on that same track. So we'll see if it works out well for them or not, but it definitely helped the Islanders' blue line having those two back there. This is one that was interesting. I thought this would be an interesting way to just close this out. I don't think we're going to see any movement today. See what happened. Now, when a trade occurs right after I'm done, so we're doing the meetup today, and we've got other things to do, so I thought I'll do the news video now. When a trade occurs, I just made it happen by saying there shouldn't be any trades today, I don't think. Ray Shero called Taylor Hall before pulling the trigger on the Subban trade and asked him how he felt about PK Subban, and his answer was, Subban's going to help our power play a lot. I'd be really excited to get him. There's been a lot of talk about PK Subban since the trade. Isn't it funny how when he's up for the Norris Trophy and he's on the cover of video games and everything's going well, everybody loves him. But as soon as things appear to be going south, he's the guy who gets his finger pointed at him. And the one thing that I keep hearing the complaining about him surrounding is that he makes it about him and he's the big megastar, he's the guy at the center of the universe, and he's also a pretty darn good player. So unless somebody can argue that there's a point where PK somehow got in the way of the team, I don't see it. I honestly don't. I'm very impressed with this deal still. I understand why Nashville did it. Nashville needed to save some cap space, and Subban was the obvious guy to go. But since that trade happened, it's become more of a, well, Subban's ego was a problem. Well, Subban in the locker room, he wears out his welcome. He did that in Montreal too. And it's just weird to me because you don't hear about this until he gets traded. Same thing happened with Montreal, where there was a feeling management wasn't really sold on him, but as soon as he gets moved as well, it's his ego and it's this and it's that. It's just strange. And Shiro calling Taylor Hall is reminiscent of the fact that the New York Islanders used to call John Tavares, where, hey, John, here's what we're going to do. So it's sort of that same thing. We're going to hear a lot about how Hall's, looking like he's going to be another Tavares. They're the same age. It's the same situation. It really isn't. Hall does not have the roots with the New Jersey Devils that Tavares did with the Islanders. Tavares was drafted and groomed by the Islanders, and he was the centerpiece, he was the captain, he was the guy. And in New Jersey, basically, Taylor Hall fell to them in a trade where they robbed the Oilers. And he's had a few pretty darn good seasons with New Jersey. This season, of course, he dealt with injury problems. But he's come into his own as a New Jersey Devil. But to me, they're not the same situation at all. One is a center, and a franchise center, and the other's a winger. And there is a difference between the two in terms of importance to your franchise. But I get the constant need to compare the two. That's going to continue. So if you're tired of hearing the comparisons already, I'm sorry, you're probably going to hear those comparisons from now until probably the trade deadline. I think the New Jersey Devils would love to get a deal done. I don't think they're bothering Taylor Hall about it because they know that he doesn't want to talk about it yet. There have been no discussions from everything that's been said, but it's going to be a really interesting summer in New Jersey because they've added Hughes, they've added Subban, and they seem to be doing a lot of this to try to make sure they keep Hall. They want to build up. They've been at the bottom for too long. I did the video today on futility. New Jersey doesn't want to be on the futility board again next year. So there's a lot of pressure to make the playoffs. And Hall is perfectly willing to see how they do this year, but he realizes his prime years are ticking away. They don't last very long for these really great players. Most of them, you'll have those 3 or 4 years where you're really at your best. You'll be pretty good after that. And then, the tail off starts in your, year where you're 32, 33, somewhere in that region, and he's already looking at 27. So his next contract is likely going to be his last big contract, and he's going to want to make sure he's signing it with a team that's going in the right direction. All right, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, just tapping upon this video. And I think that's it for the news of the day. So when a trade happens right after this, or another guy gets bought out like Spooner, or another big signing happens, you're welcome. I made it happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.